Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa. I read and welcome to another video. In this video, I am going to read books that I think I'm gonna DNF. I have this stack of books and these are all books that I think I'm gonna be not reading or not interested or whatever. They've been on my bookshelves for such a long time and I'm falling in love with YA again, which is amazing. Like, I love YA, don't get me wrong, I always have. But like, I've been reading a lot of adult romance and wondered if my taste has changed. And from what I'm learning, like, there's some elements of YA that I'm not a fan of and I kind of wish it was a little bit more adult. But for the most part, I do really love YA still. So let's go through the TBR, and for each book, I'm gonna give it for sure 50 pages. Like, if I'm not feeling it in the beginning, I'm still gonna push through until 50 pages. But by 50 pages, if I'm not feeling it, then I'm just gonna drop the book. So the first book is Nightshade by Andrea Kremerer. It's very possible that I might end up liking this because I've been in such a paranormal romance mood, specifically werewolves too. So I have high hopes for this one, but it's kind of like a forbidden romance because she's destined to be with this alpha male of a pack, and then she saves a boy, a human boy, while he's hiking, and she starts having feelings for him. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. Personally, I would want her to go for the alpha male, but yeah, so I have this one as first of a trilogy, and there's other books in this world as well. Next, I have Glitter by April Lynn Pike. I loved April Lynn Pike's Wings series, and so I was anticipating loving everything she's written, but I've never gotten to this book yet. And this is set in Versailles, the castle in France. It's modern times, but inside the castle, people dress and act like it's the 1800s, yet they still have technology and like high-tech technology. So they have like robots serving them and things like that. And there's stuff happening with the king, and she ends up like dealing drugs or something. It's kind of interesting. So I am intrigued, but I'm not sure if I would like it. So I don't know. Next, I have this Bind Up. So it's a 4-book series, and it's technically the Chronicle of Fairies, I think, even though it says the Golden Book of Fairy. And I got this forever ago because it was about fairies and I love fairies. I just never got to it. No one talks about this book, so I don't know too much about it. I do want to give it a chance just in case I love it, so here we go. Next, I have The Cage by Megan Shepherd. This is like a sci-fi where there's a group of teens who've been captured and brought into this biodome with different, like, there's a desert place and there's a town and there's an ocean, and like they have different like environments, I guess, and they are trapped in this biodome and they don't know how to get out, and it's a sci-fi, and there's people watching them through like glass or something, and they can't see who's watching them, but they know that there's people watching them. And it's really, really strange. I did start this like November or December, and I just couldn't quite get into it, but I want to give it another chance. Next, I have Deluxe by Anna Godperson. This is historical fiction. I'm not sure if it's technically a romance. I like historical romance in YA, which is why I picked up this book. And I heard it's kind of like Gossip Girl or Pretty Little Liars, but historical fiction. So I am still interested, but I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. So that's why it's in this pile. And lastly, I have The Lightning Thief. I have the whole Percy Jackson, like books 1 to 5, and I don't know if I'm still like a middle grade reader. I want to give it a chance because my heart is for Harry Potter. I do love Harry Potter. I don't know if I'll love this. I'm not sure. So that's why it's part of this pile. I'm not sure. I might hate it. I might not like it. So here we go. So here's the pile I am working from. I don't know what's gonna happen, but as of right now, I might start with Nightshade, but we'll see. I'm not doing it today, but probably tomorrow or the day after. But that's my TBR, so let's get on with the video. So I've decided that I'm gonna try Nightshade. I know I have a bookmark in there. That doesn't mean anything. I think this is gonna be the first one that I read. I'm been in a paranormal mood. I just finished the Nightshade, the Dark Darkest Powers trilogy and really loved it. And it featured werewolves, and this has werewolves. I'm nervous because it's like a love triangle. Love triangles don't bother me, but she's supposed to be with an alpha male, and instead she falls for a teen boy, like human boy. So we'll see. I don't know if that really intrigues me as much, but I think that's the first one I'm gonna try. And like I said before, I'm gonna try and give it 50 pages at least and see how I feel. And if I like it, I'll keep reading, and if not, then I will just DNF it. So, change of plans. I picked this one up instead because we were driving and I wanted an ebook so I can read while we were driving somewhere. So I ended up picking this one up instead of Nightshade. I think that's what it was called, because this was the one available. So I started reading it and I got past the 50-page mark. I got to almost 100 pages and I am curious. So this is The Cage by Megan Shepherd. We follow Cora, and she wakes up in a desert setting alone, wearing clothes that she doesn't recognize. She remembers her last moments, and then a vague dream of like a beautiful man who almost looks angelic. She finds herself in this strange setting that she doesn't recognize. She keeps walking, and she stumbles upon a boy named Lucky. She doesn't know it, but Lucky is aware of who she is. Cora is a daughter of a famous politician who was in juvie for manslaughter. It's kind of mysterious though, because she seems like not the type of person to have killed someone. So there's some mystery about her past, and Lucky's past is intertwined with hers, but she doesn't realize it, specifically involving her having to go to juvie. And so some things get revealed about that later on, which seems odd that they should be finding themselves in this strange place. So it's not just them. They stumble upon some other teens around their age from all different walks of lives. Each person originate from a different country, but they all speak English. And this ends up being, they discover like a biodome space with different geographical, what is it called? Just like different environments. So there's tundra, desert, a farm, a jungle. I think there's even a swamp, and then there's like a town. But the town isn't like a real town. It looks like almost like a movie prop set. It's very strange, very mysterious. And then they eventually encounter, so it's not a spoiler or anything, but they learned that they are in captivity by aliens. They are out in space in this weird, I guess, space station that's emulating a Earth-like place, but it's very different. Everything is kind of close to, so there's like different environments, but they're all very close together. They can like walk the whole thing really quickly, and like I said, they have like a town center that looks like almost like a prop set, and there's a house that they can live in, and they're fed food, and they do meet the caretaker or the jailer, who is an alien being, and they are forced to live there. And this alien being believes him and his people, they're like intelligent, I guess, or like on a higher scale above human, and they believe that they're saving humanity by taking these teens and I guess maybe like trying to preserve their species. They said something like that. So they're stuck here, and there's different like puzzles, and I don't want to say games, but there's like challenges and puzzles for them to do, and then when they solve them they get tokens, and then they place the tokens to get stuff, which is really strange. But they're trying to work together to find a way off of this thing. I wouldn't know what to do though. Like that's the thing, it's like they're trying to figure out how to like escape. I'm like, you're in space, how do you escape? I don't know. Are you smart enough to like drive a space station, and not just that, but like an alien one? Like I don't know, but I can't, like I'm really enjoying it. I'm really I'm more like curious to see what happens. I'm not like obsessed or anything. I wasn't disliking it, which I was surprised because the first time around I was reading this, I was just like I didn't care. And it was because I was listening to it on audiobook, and I found it really hard. I think I'm learning that I find audiobooks challenging sometimes, especially if it's like a fantasy or sci-fi, in this case, setting. Like, I need to physically read it so I can like take the time to absorb the information. Does that make any sense? Or if I'm listening to an audio, sometimes for me it's hard to intake the information. I find it easier physically reading. So this time around, physically reading is working for me, and I'm curious to see what happens. So I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna keep reading it. I don't know when I'll finish it, but I'm gonna complete the entire book. So sadly, well, happily, I'm gonna read it. Sadly, it's not a title that I'm DNFing, but I'm fine with that. I want to read books that I enjoy, right? But I'm glad I pushed through to see if it was something I was interested in. So here we go. I'm interested. I'm curious to see what happens, and I'm going to keep reading. Good morning. So I last night finished The Cage, and this was an interesting reading experience. So I was liking it. I found it really interesting. Cora and a bunch of other teens who are all paired off. The aliens decide to pair them off, and they have certain rules, which is take care of their bodies to solve these puzzles within the different environments and to reproduce. Chorus is paired up with Lucky, and they have a past back on Earth that gets slowly revealed throughout the novel. And then Cora does start communicating more frequently with the caretaker, the alien who's in charge of this enclosure. The things I liked about this was like the biodome, I don't know what you call it, but like the enclosure that the students were in, and kind of the dynamics between all of the youth. It definitely got a little bit like Lord of the Flies-ish, not too crazy, but there were like elements of that in here as well, which I thought was really interesting. And Cora was definitely determined to try and escape and find a way to escape. I wished the aliens were left more of a mystery. I wish they were not brought in to this novel, because I think it would be a lot more scary and it would make everything a lot more mysterious. Like, why is certain things happening and why are some things not? And I don't know, I think if they were further removed from the teens, I just think it would just be a lot more mysterious and scary. But we were introduced to them pretty much right away, and this leaned way more like a romance than like this weird thriller. Like, I wouldn't call this a thriller at all. This reads a lot like a dystopian, and it reads a lot like a dystopian from this era. And there was a bit of a love triangle, and I liked one love interest way more than the other, and it leaned towards the other. And I just wasn't here for the romance. I didn't feel a spark. I felt forced, and I didn't find it believable that they were in love or that they liked each other. Normally this kind of romance, I would be like, I would really like it, but for whatever reason, like, I think I just had stronger feelings for the first love interest, and I just liked it more. I think I would be more interested in this story if they focused more on the biodome. They focus on the captivity and what it would be actually like living there permanently. I think I'd be more interested in that for some reason. But it was more about them trying to escape. Even though there were elements I liked about it, there were elements I didn't like the romance and just the direction it went, and like the reasonings behind the captivity, why the aliens took these teens, like the things that got revealed at the end. I just wasn't here for it. There was one twist I liked, but then the second twist that compounded on top of the first one, I was just like, no, I don't like this. So I think I'm giving this 3 stars. Even though it was very readable and I was engaged the entire time and I couldn't put it down. I was like too curious to see what would happen next. In the end, I didn't like love it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. So it's definitely like a 3-star read. And I pretty much decided I'm not continuing on with the series because I don't actually care that much. I might read the synopsis of book 2 and see if I'm like slightly intrigued, but I'm not really sure if I care. So the likelihood of me continuing is like really slim. So that's my thoughts on The Cage. 3 stars. Should I have DNF'd it? I don't know. Like, I don't regret reading it. Like, I'm not upset that I finished this book. I was curious enough to keep going. So, but yeah, 3 stars. So the next book I probably will try is finally Nightshade. I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up this exact moment, but I think this is what I'm gonna pick up because I'm not really sure how I feel about any other book, but I might take a perusal and see my feelings. I just have to remember that like it's okay to DNF books. That's the point of this vlog. You know, just because I pick up a book doesn't mean I have to complete it. You know, that's the point of this video, is to force me to pick up books with no pressure. And there was no pressure for me to continue this. I was just more curious to see how it would fall out. So there we go. So I have so much to update about. It's been a while since I read anything really. I kind of was in a bit of a slump, so I took a bit of a break from filming and reading and things like that. But now I'm back in the game, so I did pick up a couple books. I let my son actually choose from the options that were left, and he chose Deluxe for me. And I read about, I think technically like 48 pages or 45 or something like that. And this is a lot different than I thought it was going to be. I knew there was a murder involved or a death or something like that, but ultimately I thought this was going to be a romance first and like a mystery second, but actually the mystery is like the main story. And it's not a spoiler because the first chapter is basically like a prologue, and it talks about being at this funeral for this young lady. Her name is Elizabeth, and this is set in the Gilded Age in Manhattan. So it's like, I think it's 1899. I think that's the year. And we find out that Elizabeth has died, and there's this funeral, and there's people who are part of the society that she's part of. This is like upper class, rich people kind of drama situation. They talk about all the people who were attending this funeral, and the author was making it pretty clear that there's certain people that we should be suspicious about. And then the story begins from Elizabeth's perspective. She's a young woman who is out in society. She has a younger sister who's also out, but is quite, I think, a couple years younger than her. And it was clear that Elizabeth is getting all the attention from her parents when it comes to providing like education and etiquette and things like that in order for her to be presentable into society. Well, her sister isn't getting that kind of treatment, and it sounds like her sister's a little bit wild, maybe a little bit jealous of Elizabeth. Maybe we get Elizabeth's perspective, and then the next chapter it is her sister's perspective. Her name is Diana, and so we kind of get some glimpses of her. I actually really enjoyed her character. And then we get Elizabeth's best friend slash enemy kind of perspective. And it's clear that she has her sights on a certain gentleman, but he has asked her to keep their relationship secret. But what we learn at the beginning, so I don't consider this a spoiler because it was like literally in the prologue, was that Elizabeth and this gentleman, his name was Henry Schoonmaker, they were engaged and they were supposed to get married, but what happened was Elizabeth got in this carriage accident and her body went missing. So I read like I think I read about like 3 chapters plus the prologue, and I just was like not in the mood for this. Like, I didn't realize it was going to be like this whodunit kind of situation. There seems to be some kind of romance maybe, but it's not really. It's more about trying to figure out who was against Elizabeth or who possibly caused her death. And we see all the characters at play, and there's quite a few people who possibly be suspicious. And I'm sure throughout the whole novel, there's going to be a lot of red herrings and like maybe some romance, but the point isn't romance. So I pretty much guessed, honestly, I swear in the prologue, maybe in the first chapter, what happens. And since I knew I was not interested, I honestly went to, I think it was maybe an epilogue, it was a letter. And I 100% guessed it, and it's just like, this is not what I signed up for. And I couldn't believe that there's like 3 other books in this series. I don't honestly can imagine what else there could be. And I don't want this. Like, this is not what I signed up for. Like, I don't know. I'm just not interested in this. It's not what I want to read. So the point of this vlog is like to get things off my TBR, give them a chance, because this has been on my TBR like forever, and it's just not something I'm interested in. I heard it compared to kind of like Gossip Girl, and I guess that makes like in the Gilded Era, so know that going in, it's not really romance, it's more of like a whodunit, mystery, Gossip Girl, drama, people like backstabbing each other and things like that. So this was a DNF, and so I picked up the first book in this big bind up, The Hunter's Moon, and I wasn't sure about this one either. I read about maybe even less. I think I read like 20 pages, and I knew it was just like I was just not in the mood to read at all, but I was trying really hard to like get back into reading. So maybe this like vlog is not a good idea for like my specific mood right now. I still wanted to try, and this was like a lot different than I thought it was gonna be. I think the type of fairy fantasy I like is more like, I would consider this more young adult possibly, but I like kind of more fantasy. Where this, we're following 2 cousins who are supposedly close even though they don't even live in the same country. One lives in Canada and the other one lives, I guess, in Ireland. So the girl from Canada is coming over to visit her cousin who lives, I guess, in Ireland. I'm assuming that's where she lives. But the girl from Ireland, she encounters a mysterious man who literally just like, so she's in a coffee shop reading or having a snack or something, and he just comes up, and it's like so weird and awkward. And you could tell he's like magical and there's something like different about him, and she's vaguely intrigued, and he's like, I have a present for you, and like he gives her a book, and it's like a fairy poem book. So it's a book full of poems, and there's one poem that's the same name as her, and it's like really weird and strange and like kind of creepy, and that's the point. Like, it's the point of the story. And then he like just disappears, and she kind of like forgets that she encountered him. And then we jump to when her cousin comes to visit her, and then they're teenagers. I think they're like 16 or so, maybe even like 15. I think they're maybe 16. And they've planned to go on this trip together, and their parents are letting them go on this trip by themselves on a bus. And I was just like, I don't think this would ever happen. Like, especially like two 16-year-old girls on their own going on a traveling bus. I don't know. I just could not picture this ever happening and any parent being okay with this. But they're going on this trip and they've decided to like not follow the rules. They've decided to like go off their original plan that their parents know about. And basically the fairy that met the first girl, the Ireland girl, convinced her to meet him somewhere. And it's like a fairy hill or something like that. And she doesn't really know that's what she's doing, but like subconsciously she's taking her friend to this thing. The bus they were on gets in a car crash. It's all very mysterious, like what the heck is going on? And then they decide to hitchhike. And I'm just like, I'm finding the story so unbelievable. Like, I believe like 16-year-old girls hitchhiking and things like that, but like I don't like this story. And like there's this older gentleman who stops, and the minute he stopped by and they were like about to like get in the car, I'm just like, I'm not reading this story because I don't know, this is just like, I just feel really uncomfortable about the storyline. I also like just don't care. In some ways it's unbelievable because I think if you have a young daughter, you would be like teaching her what is safe and not safe. And hitchhiking is like a no-no. Like, you don't do that. And so I'm not saying 16-year-old girls wouldn't do that. Like, I know it's a thing, it happens, but it's very dangerous. And I don't know, I just really was uncomfortable. And I could tell like the gentleman who was in the car was probably gonna be a fairy. And like, I didn't know. I don't like this. I'm not really enjoying it. And so I don't really care what happens. And I don't want to read anymore, which is unfortunate because I do really love fairy stuff. And so I don't know, I'm just like not in it. So since I was struggling, like I was clearly struggling with reading, I didn't know what to read, I didn't know what I wanted to read. I needed like a palette cleanser because what I was picking up wasn't doing it for me. So I picked something up that wasn't even part of my TBR, not on my physical TBR, like I don't even own this book. I just needed like a short romance novella. And I really wasn't sure what that was. So I just went on Hoopla to see what they had. And so I picked up In the Spinsters Bed by Sally Mackenzie. This was just a short novella, which is exactly what I needed. I needed a romance, maybe historical, I don't know. This is what I needed at this moment. Very short story. It was so odd as well. It was an odd story, but I was able to complete it and I did enjoy my time reading it. And it was good to be reminded, yes, I do actually like reading. But anyways, it's a second chance romance and we follow, I don't remember their names. Her name is Bella and he is, I think is William. He is like the third son of a dukedom, that's right. And they knew each other as children. And they had a physical relationship when they were quite young and it was mutual. They both wanted this. This is when they were maybe, I don't know, they were probably like teenagers or like early adults. It was meaningful for both of them. And then he got whisked back to Oxford, I think. Or maybe he joined the army, something like that. She was left behind and she found out she was pregnant. She's actually the vicar's daughter, so it's not really an appropriate match anyways, but she found out she was pregnant. Her father finds out and her father is not a good man. He like beats her and her mother, and when he found out that she was pregnant, he kicked her out. And so she moved to a neighboring town that had this thing called a spinster house and it was vacant, and it's for people who chose, young women who chose to be a spinster, I guess. And it's under, I don't know, it was under another like titled gentleman, but it comes with a living and like a small living, and the person gets to live in this house and then I guess run like the library or something like that. So that's what Bella does. She does this for 20 years. So the story picks up 20 years later. William is back from war and he got married. I think got married quite young too, like 18, but his marriage is not good. They had a terrible marriage. She was unfaithful to him. And she is like extremely scandalous with her affairs. And it's been a big problem in their marriage where she, like, it's always in the papers and everyone gossips about her and him and how their like relationship's awful and it like brings down the family name. So 20 years later, the wife of William gets in like another big scandal, and so he decides to kind of like hide away because he's sick of all the whisperings and things like that. And so he finds this town that Belle happens to be living in, and so they reconnect again, and it's about them reconnecting and things go from there. I really liked it. It was definitely what I needed. It wasn't like the most amazing thing ever, but I did really enjoy the relationship. I liked how like he was so smitten with her, and she's a spinster, so she's like, this is like a late 30s, he's like pushing 40 kind of relationship, which was kind of nice to see. And it was clear that she's probably like always loved him kind of thing. There are like strange things though that happen in this novella, like thinking about like having have read it, like 4 people died in this novella. Like it literally is a novella and 4 people had died, maybe even 5 depending on how you view things. Like that's a lot of people in like a 100-page novella. Like I was just kind of like, whoa, this is very dramatic. So it is overly dramatic. It's very sad. So trigger warnings for death of a parent, death of a spouse, death of family members, and miscarriage. So, but it ends happily, and this was the novella I needed to get me out of a rut. So I think I would rate it more like 3.5 because of the like over dramatics of like all the deaths. Like that was a lot, like anyways, but I still like it was helpful. I needed to read something enjoyable, so I guess I recommend it. I'm kind of interested to read more by this author. It's part of the Spinster House series, and that was the novella. And I don't know, the author's name is Sally Mackenzie. The other thing I want to talk about is The Hunt. I did not start reading it, but I possibly made the mistake of reading the synopsis, and I might actually be curious to read this book, maybe. I'm not going to read it in this video, but I just thought I'd mention it because I said I wasn't sure if I was going to continue. The thing that intrigues me is that there are new captivities, like places where they're going to keep the humans, and I can't help but be intrigued by that. There's hints of more dramatics in like the romance, which I could care less about, but I am curious to see the new environments that they're placing these characters in. I can't help it but be intrigued, so there's that. So I have 3 books left. I have Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief, Glitter, and Nightshade. I don't know what to read. I'm not really excited about any of these, but maybe I should just like try it, pump them out, try it, see what happens. I don't know. I need to be careful about what I declare. This is what I'm leaning towards first, but I need to be careful. I really don't want to get in a reading slump.
Time we were standing on the rooftop, you shone as bright as the city before us. Now tell me you feel it.
Okay, so I got some happy news. I'm actually reading this and enjoying it. I'm on page 149, so I'm a little bit less than halfway. Yeah, I'm less than halfway. But it's going well. I'm really enjoying it. The thing with middle grade, for it to work for me, is I need to be extremely charmed. And I am charmed with this one. Like, I really feel for Percy. You know, like I feel like motherly affection for him. And he's obviously having a hard time and has always had a hard time. And I'm enjoying the world building in this one. I didn't know what to expect really. Like I pretty much avoided everything when it comes to Percy Jackson. Like I knew some things, like I've heard of Annabeth before, and I knew there was like Greek god stuff involved in this, but that's about it. I don't even know how much to say because I think some discoveries are spoilers, even though like some reveals about like how he's related to this world. It's quite obvious to me, not at the beginning, but when certain instances start happening, it's like, okay, like I think we can figure out how he is related. So he's half blood, that's the term they use, or a demigod. So he is a son of one of the gods, I won't say who. He has been struggling, like he's been constantly being kicked out of schools. He lasts about a year and then he gets kicked out, and he struggles with dyslexia. Kicks out a lot because things kind of just happen to him. He does get into fights and things like that, but like things just seem to happen to him. So he never really lasts very long at a school. And this last school, he made a friend and he had like a favorite teacher and everything, but then he gets kicked out again. He's down on his luck. For the summer, he visits his mom. He goes back home because it was a boarding school, and then things start happening. Creatures start chasing him, and his mom takes him to the summer camp for other demigods. Unfortunately, his mother disappears. Like, she didn't really quite die, but she kind of like burst into a thing of light when the Manticore chased her away. And so he goes to a summer camp with other demigods, and you know, this new world gets opened up and everything. So I am really enjoying it. I'm completely charmed. I'm charmed by Percy. I'm charmed by the characters. I like this new world. I'm not sure if it's gonna be like my new favorite thing in the world. I don't know, it's only the first book, so I really like it. And he's about to embark on a journey after having discovered who his father is and how he's in play in all of the dramatics that is the Greek gods, because apparently there's a lot of dramatics. I'm definitely feeling like, for one thing, I feel like I'm learning some things about the Greek gods, which is really cool. And it's not like I haven't heard of certain gods before, but like I don't actually know that much. So I've thought about like watching some YouTube videos to like get a basic understanding of all the gods and how they all relate to each other. I'm understanding now that Zeus and Poseidon and Hades are all brothers, and that they're the gods of, Zeus is the god of the sky, Poseidon is the god of the sea, and Hades the god of the underworld. And so I'm understanding that. It's more all the other gods that I feel like I need to do some education on. So, but this is definitely a good introduction to all that, and it's just fun. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. So I will be reading this. I'll be finishing it. So I will update you in a little bit.
Time we were standing on the rooftop, you shone as bright as the city before us. Now tell me you feel it, tell me you know it, tell me you're cold and tell me I'm water, and you just keep around it.
I'm happy to announce that I finished Percy Jackson, and I loved it. I really did. I'm like kind of shocked. I know I shouldn't be, but I wasn't sure about this. I wasn't sure if I was a fan of middle grade, and I'm happy to report that I still am. I still really like middle grade books, which I'm happy about because I have some on my bookshelves. And I think the trick is it has to be fantasy. I do love my fantasy worlds, and so that's what really got me to really enjoy this. This is my first experience with like Greek mythology, and I'm so interested. It's a little overwhelming though because I know absolutely nothing, but I feel like this is a really good introduction to the Greek gods, really accessible. And so while I was reading this, I had like a guide on my phone that I borrowed from Hoopla, so I can just look up names and like understand all the connections, because all the Greek gods are related in some shape or form or have relationships with each other, and it can get overwhelming and confusing. But for the key players, like this is a really good introduction. So I really loved it. I love Percy. My heart he has my heart. I feel for him. and I love Annabeth, of course, and I love their dynamic. There was a bit of a red herring in here. I enjoyed the adventure. I was really happy that there was an adventure. I was nervous that it was just going to be like them at the camp the entire time. And there were some, I don't want to say dull moments, but they had a lot of situations that happened to them. And after a while, I was getting a little not annoyed, but just like I felt a little dull, I guess, or repetitive. But I enjoyed. There's like kind of like two villains, I guess you can say. Like I said, there was a red herring kind of situation where we weren't sure who possibly is Percy's enemy or will turn on Percy, and I kind of called it. I wasn't too surprised by that, but I'm excited for like the overarching enemy who is to come, and I enjoyed encountering all the gods. That was a lot of fun, and I don't know, I just really feel for Percy, and I'm excited to see what other adventures he's gonna go on. So I could tell this was definitely inspired by Harry Potter. I was looking at what year it came out, and it was like several years after. Like this came out in 2005, and so I do see the comparisons. Like I would say Percy is a lot like Harry, and Annabeth is a lot like Hermione, and even the fact that he ends up in the hospital bed at the end of the book, I was just like, this feels really reminiscent of that. And then like his mentor is there with him, so there's some parallels there, and he's like not a chosen one, but kind of is a chosen one. But I still loved it, and it is very different. It's not the same thing. I wouldn't say it is the same thing as Harry Potter, but there are similarities, but the similarities aren't bad. Like I like Harry Potter, so yeah, I really like this. I think I'm gonna give it like 4.5. I'm gonna give it 5 stars on Goodreads. I'm only giving it 4.5 just because like there were some moments where I was getting a little bored, and I wasn't scared that I wasn't going to continue, but I can see the formula happening where it's like they encounter one thing, and then they encounter another thing, and then they encounter another thing. They encountered a lot of stuff, that's for sure. But yeah, 5 stars, and I'm excited to keep going. Like I'm going to read this series. Like it's a lot of fun. I'd love to know your thoughts on Percy Jackson. If you think I should continue after this first series, let me know. I'd love to know your opinion. So, as of right now, I think I'm gonna move on to glitter. I think that's what I'm feeling. For some reason, I'm just like not feeling Nightshade. Like I just like don't want to pick it up, and I don't know why, because I was having like a paranormal werewolf infatuation, but now I'm just like, no, I don't want that. So, but I'm glad that was a success. So, oh dear, I feel so bad doing this, but I think I've decided to end this vlog here. I was really going to push myself to try and complete the other 2 titles. Was it Glitter and Nightshade? But I really can't bring myself to do it. I really need to end this vlog and just start a new vlog. Do you ever feel that way, where it's just like, okay, this thing is carrying on too long, let's just end it and start afresh? And I'm really feeling that way. It's been like several weeks since the last time I read something, and the moment I said that, I remembered I forgot about it. I got it. But so I'm gonna end the vlog here. So there were some successes and there were some failures, and I just need to start fresh and start some new vlogs. So I'm just gonna open my Goodreads quick so I can reference. So the first thing that I read in this vlog, just to wrap things up, was The Cage by Megan Shepherd. This was a very interesting read. I remember that. That was forever ago now. I can't even tell you when I read this, but I kind of liked it, kind of didn't like it. I gave it 3 stars, and as of right now, I think I am going to continue on with this series, which is kind of a surprise, but I read the synopsis of book 2 and I was intrigued. I'm not intrigued by the romance. I kind of hate it, but I am intrigued by the biospheres or domes or whatever, like that they're placing these people in. I can't help but be intrigued, so I'm going to give it a try later on and see if I like it, and if I don't end up liking it, then I just won't read it. But 3 stars. And then I picked up Deluxe and I gave it a try. I gave it the 50 pages that it deserved, and I decided not to continue on. It's just not what I was anticipating, and since I knew that, I ended up spoiling myself, and I kind of knew I was made correct about my prediction of the story. So not going to continue on the series. After this book, I'm kind of surprised there's even more books, to be honest. So this was a DNF, and since that was a DNF, I am removing these books from my TBR, which are, I don't even know the order, Envy, Rumors, and Splendor. So these are officially off my TBR. Then I picked up The Hunter's Moon, which was really strange reading experience. I don't even, yeah, the minute that they went into a stranger's car, I was just like, yep, no, I'm not gonna read this. Besides that, I barely remember anything else. I kind of read YA for some reason, so I don't know, it was really strange, and I'm past caring. So I DNF'd The Hunter's Moon. I won't be reading The Summer King, The Librarian's Daughter, or The Book of Dreams. So this is on haul. I'm not gonna, this is not gonna be on my TBR anymore. Then I went off track and read In the Spinsters Bed by Sally Mackenzie. This was just a short novella, and I think I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. That's what my Goodreads said. So yeah, I enjoyed that. And then I picked up The Lightning Thief and like fell in love. I'm in love. I'm in love. I get it. I get why people love this so much, and I definitely did. And it's definitely opened my eyes to the Greek tragedies, Greek mythology, I guess that's the right word I'm looking for. Been enjoying learning about Greek mythology, and I fell in love with Percy so much. I just want to give him a big hug. And I watched the movie. The movie was fine. It was fine. I didn't really like it, but the book is better, that's for sure, and I can't wait for the TV show. And I can't wait to keep reading with the series. So I'm definitely continuing on with the series. I gave this 5 stars. It's probably more like 4.5. And that's it for this vlog. I'm very sorry that I'm ending it here, but I think it's about time. And don't worry, I'm still gonna give Glitter and Nightshade a chance. I'm just moving them over to another vlog, so look forward to that. I would love to know if you've read any of these books before. Have you DNF'd any of these books? I would love to know your thoughts and opinions about these. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions about DNFing or not continuing on books. What are your thoughts? Please share them down below in the comments. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you have not done so. You can follow me on Goodreads and Instagram. And you know what? I want you to keep reading. Bye.